Well, we got a special guest, former 49ers offensive lineman Jon Feliciano's in the house. What's up, man? How's it going?
Chilling, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I actually just got back to the studio from practice. I've been out there the last 3 days. It's gotten a little bit warmer each day, but
Yeah,
I
I
think the
seen I seen
guys
Larry. Larry was really sunburnt. I talked to him. You look good. You look tanned.
yeah, I sunburnt tanned. I mean, could be interchangeable. Some of us tan a little bit better
Yeah.
than others. I think it's the Eastern European in me, but yeah, he's been out there. I've been out there every day, man. And today I got the sense, I'll tell you, McKivitz and Fred Warner got into a little shoving match, and I just got
Oh,
the
I love
sense that
that.
everybody's just sick of facing each other, you know.
You can only handle Fred for so long. He gets annoying in a great way. Great teammate. Love the guy.
You weren't
But,
around yet in 2022, right? 2023 was your
yeah, my
first
first
year.
year. Yeah.
So in 2022, you probably heard the stories. Fred annoyed the hell out of Brandon Ayuk,
No, I don't
and
think I heard this one.
at a certain point, like he was even antagonizing him through the media, like in press conferences and
Uh huh.
stuff. And then all of a sudden, I'm writing down something after a play, and I look up, and Brandon Ayuk is literally like this,
Like an old school boxer.
a good, I don't know, 15 yards away from Fred, just waiting for him. And then Fred approaches him, and they got a few swings in, and it was probably the best fight I've seen so far. I covered the Niners for 9 years now. That was the
Yeah,
biggest one.
that's fun. Good training camp fight. I
Did you
love
get
those.
into any good ones with any of your teams? I know I didn't see you in
There's
any
a
with the
few.
Niners.
There's a good picture going that's out there of me getting dragged off of a pile when I was on the Giants. It's a pretty funny picture. People thought I was knocked out. I was playing dead. You know, I was trying to. I went dead on them so that it's harder to pull me off the pile. But the picture looks like I got rocked.
And that was during camp.
Yeah.
When these happen, is how much of it is guys just being sick and tired
Oh
of
yeah. If
facing each
there's 9 times out of 10 there's as soon as we get in the locker room, we're laughing about the fight. Like it's just a heat of a moment kind of thing, and I mean, especially with Fred, him being so good and making a lot. If he makes a lot of plays, you got to hear his mouth, and God forbid he does it a couple days in a row, and then you're just fed up with him.
Speaking of future Hall of Famers, because I think Fred is one. You had a chance to play a couple seasons in San Francisco with Trent Williams, and I
Hmm.
saw him in the locker room the other day, man. And it's he's just this for me. He's this fountain of football knowledge. I've learned so much just talking to him. What was it like being in an O line room and in the locker room for a couple years with Trent Williams?
It's crazy, man. Like you said, he's first ballot Hall of Famer. I remember vividly. Banks got a concussion my first training camp, my first year there. He got a concussion, and then they put me in to play left guard next to Trent, and it felt like we played next to each other for 10 years. Like he makes the game so easy for everyone around him. You know, I like to think of myself as a smart player and able to see things early. And I remember we passed off the game, and I didn't have to do anything. Trent did 90% of the block, and then just the DN ran right into me, and I was like, "Oh, thanks, Trent." And Trent was yelling it as soon as the ball snapped. So it was. I think the last game I played with next to him was the Commanders game, and it's so fun playing next to him.
I'm okay. I try to have a good memory with these things. Was that Jacksonville when you were playing left guard in place of Banks?
Yeah, that was my first start. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And I remember that. Well, that was a blowout, and Trent
Hmm.
had the business decision block, the poor corner
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
Jacksonville.
Uh huh.
However, when you moved to right guard week 14 against Seattle,
Hmm.
that early run, Christian McCaffrey, I think, went 68 yards. Jamal Adams made a business decision and didn't want to take you on.
Yeah, that when Christian got hawked down,
Yes,
he's gonna
because
get
you
mad.
okay,
He's
so
gonna get
John,
mad. I said that.
it, he was steaming still after the game. I walked up to
Oh,
him. I'm like, "You're mad, aren't you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm mad." And that was what, a 3 touchdown win, and he was still mad
yeah.
about that first run. But the play I'm talking about, people can find it on YouTube. Type in Christian McCaffrey 68-yarder against Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
You get to the second level, and Jamal Adams just wants no part of you.
Yeah.
And the last that you see of your 5'5" is you kind of running off the screen because Jamal Adams looks like he's afraid, running away, and you just raise your arm up into the air.
Yeah,
Because
I
at the
thought we were
time,
gone. I
yeah.
thought he was out of there. But I love messing with Christian because he gets so angry, and he's just so competitive, and I hope he sees this.
I'll send it to him. We'll make
Yeah,
sure that he sees this
make sure
part
he
right
sees
after.
it. You're so slow, dude.
You've been around a lot of great players, and you yourself, I mean, a decade in the NFL, like, so
Mm-hmm.
there has to be a certain wiring, right? A certain way of getting mad when something isn't perfect, and kind of that maniacal desire to fix it. Christian, I think, definitely has it.
Yeah,
Other guys in that locker room, are they perfectionists?
yeah. I mean, George, Nick. It's crazy. You don't really see Kittle get real mad. I
Mm-hmm.
think he keeps it like to himself. But there's times where I've seen him just like get mad at himself for something that he didn't do perfect, and it's just like it's fun to see because he does. I like watching people get mad, I guess, but especially when guys that are like just. I've never been around someone who's just so positive and happy like George is. So when you see the opposite side, you're like, oh yeah, everyone has it.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because the year that I started covering the 49ers, 2017, was when he was a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
And so to kind of see him transform into this WWE type of personality
Yeah,
over the years, but still stay like the same guy. Like, he's so funny, and he'll help you out at his locker with whatever football knowledge you need, has been really cool. But one thing that has always stuck with me is that whoever's been next to George's locker has always
poor guy,
complained that he's messy. Yeah, poor guy, you said.
poor guy. This guy gets sent so much stuff, and it just gets piled and piled in front of his locker. Um, and he probably wants to be like Trent and have 3 lockers.
Yeah, and you know what? We've only been in the Niners locker room once so far this year, and I don't. It was after the first preseason game. It's going to open back up next week. I don't know what Trent's setup is, but do you know? Did you hear that they renovated the place? So
No,
yeah, you walk in, man, and it's like the lighting is different, and you're like, there's something familiar, but it's way different now. As far as it's a little bit brighter, carpet is new. Uh,
nice.
so
Hopefully, I see it soon.
So that's obviously where a lot of 49ers fans are going to be curious at this point. You've made it known that you want to be back with the 49ers. You technically, I guess, retired, but did you fill out any paperwork, or do you have to fill
Oh
out
yeah, I
paperwork?
would have to officially unretire, and that will. I'll send the email here soon.
So is that all that it takes if
Yeah, I think
you're going to be
so. I mean,
returning?
I've never done it before, but when I did retire, it was just an email. So probably send him another one. I'll do it
Have
through
you?
my agent.
Okay. Has he been, or have you been in contact with anybody on the 49ers side?
No, no. It's my schedule is pretty busy for the next week, but after that, we'll see what happens. But yeah, hopefully there's interest. We'll see what happens though. It's it'll be fun if it happens.
How are you feeling right now with just physically? I know that last year was a big frustration with the knee. How has
Mhm.
that come along?
I feel real good. This last, what is it, 6 months? Or not even since January, um, just rehabbing, and my body feels great right now. And so it was really my quad last year that it deteriorated so much that my knee was, fine for 4 surgeries in a knee. Um, but like physically, I could go forward and laterally. It's just going backwards. That quad, if it's not strong, it's going to put a lot more pressure on that knee, and it just, it was one of those things where you couldn't really tell until you got out there and started pushing,
Hmm.
300 and whatever pound D lineman. Because during all the training and stuff leading up to it, I felt good. I looked good. Like I was I was chomping at the bits to try to get out there. And then when you get out there, it was just like running blocking was fine, pulling, doing all that stuff. It was just literally going backwards. It didn't feel right.
What was it troublesome to kind of anchor
Yeah,
in some of the
it was just
situations?
yeah, it was a lot of pain.
You
But
know, and you talk about the run blocking. That's what really I thought you excelled at in
mhm.
2023. And you're one of the top graded guys in the league, but just talking about some of the plays that we've already gone over, where you got
Mhm.
out into space quick on Jamal Adams, and it just was such a magical run for the offense in that season. What exactly was it about Kyle's offense and blocking for Christian that allowed you to take the game to that level in 2023 after you came over to the 49ers?
Yeah, man, I wish I could have played in this offense my whole career,
Mm.
this style offense. I am a bigger guy, and um, you know, people thought I would be more suited for inside zone and duo scheme, power schemes, which I was. That was my first 8 years of my career. I was in that type of offense. But I always felt like I could reach anybody, and outside zone we ran a lot in Miami was always something that I felt like I was really good at. Um, so then when we go to San Francisco and their whole offense is outside zone, the only thing I really had to learn was what we do in the backside, which is a little different than that I've been around. And once I got that down, I was just like waiting for my time.
So March 2023, when the 49ers signed you, that was one of my first thoughts was like, this guy's never played in, exactly the scheme that Kyle Shanahan is coaching. But I remember both Kyle and John being adamant that they thought that your skill set would translate. So what were the conversations like regarding that before you signed with the 49ers? What specific tape were they going off of? Did they go all the
Yeah.
way back to Miami tape? How did that all work?
No, so we ran a lot of pit and pull with the Giants my year I was there with Saquon.
Mhm.
Um, and it was I always want to say Redskins. It was the Commanders, one of the Commanders games. They had that film up, and it was me, Kyle, and Fur, and we were in a meeting. This was, I don't know if I signed that day. I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was before or after I signed that day, but we were watching the film, and Fur was showing me pulling and getting out in space, and they're like, yeah, a lot of people don't think you can play in this system. But we turn on this film and we were like, oh, this guy can easily play here. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I told him, I was like, I think outside zone is my best run blocking ability. Um, and yeah, we went from there.
Then came the Jacksonville game where you're right next to Trent. Like you said, that really helped you get acclimated. But then, I mean, I thought your best football came at right guard later
Hmm.
that year, and you've played all over the line. You played center for the Giants, but in college, and I think even in the league, you played some tackle too. How much?
Not in the league. In college, I played. I had like maybe 10 to 12 starts at right tackle, one at left tackle, and then the rest were at left guard.
You didn't have any fill-in time at tackle before the 49ers in the league?
No, thank God.
No. So,
I played. I played tight end. I have two returns on kickoff.
when was that?
One was 2015 preseason, and the next one I think it was 2016 or 17 versus the Broncos in Denver in a regular season game.
And you gotta tell me about it. How you
Oh
must know
my
the
great!
exact
15 yard. I averaged 15 yards a return. I mean, we should put me back there if they're looking for somebody.
well, I think, yeah, you might be getting the call from Brant Boyer, the new special teams coordinator, because they just got a new return guy. They traded for Sky Moore
Yeah,
yesterday, and
I seen that.
he's got some juice. He had an 88 yarder on the punt actually the other day when he was still playing for Kansas City. But
Mm,
I'm guessing that these returns were on squibs back with the old kickoff
yeah,
rule.
yeah. Miss one was a miss hit, and the other one was a squib because we had Cordell Patterson back there, and he was a really good returner back then.
And when you played tight end, did you get a pass at any
But,
point?
I didn't. They didn't throw it to me. I went out on a couple of routes. One was in Mexico City versus the Texans when I was on the Raiders, and all year they played man to this one front, and when they shift the tight end, they go to man. But this time, and I was the primary read. But this time they went to zone because they know they're like, oh shit, Feliciano's there.
They that's they accounted for it. That's too bad.
Yeah, good
One of
coaching
their
on their part.
yeah, I mean, good recognition, I guess too. One thing I don't think it's a secret 49ers goal. I don't know if this was something they talked about when you were in the room, but they want to get Trent Williams a touchdown. Like they're kind of openly talking about it, or at least a catch. I don't think he doesn't. He might have a catch in his career, but he doesn't have a touchdown.
Mm,
He's been in there for a while. What was that?
yeah.
Something that was ever talked about, just in jokingly in the O-line meeting room?
I think a little bit, but speaking of tackles or linemen getting touchdowns, I played with Donald Penn, who I don't know if he still holds the record, but when I was with him, he held the record for most touchdowns in by a lineman. So shout out DP.
I remember that. That was a big kind of running storyline for the
Mm,
Raiders back in the day.
yeah,
Yeah. I have to say the Raiders. We saw Tom Brady walking into the game the other day. He's the minority owner
yeah.
now, looking like Al Davis. I mean, he had the white jacket, and I just made a joke on Twitter. It's like the Raiders change you, man. That there's something about the Raiders.
Oh, I thought it was the plastic surgery.
The- no, but that's a good one. But the just the Raiders aura playing for them. I covered them a little bit back when they were in Oakland. I think it was, I don't know if I overlapped with you or not there, but I was just some visiting reporter there for a couple of days helping fill
Hmm.
in. There's just a different vibe with the Raiders, and I think it's kind of cool. Actually, I think it is steeped in a type of tradition. But was
Yeah,
it? How different was it? Just that building, that aura, than the rest of your stops.
I felt like it was very similar to Miami, and like fan wise, bunch of crazy people. But I think I fit in. I fit in well there. I'll tell you what, the worst thing about playing there was playing on that baseball field, dude. It was terrible hitting the
The last
ground.
one.
Everyone would be like, once you get on that section, everyone, even the opposing team, we're just like, come on, bro, we don't want to hit this ground.
Isn't it crazy? Like, I know both you and I grew up in the 90s, so that to me that was part of football nostalgia, watching the NFL. There's so many of those. The Niners had one of them, a Candlestick, and
Yeah.
September and October, right? October if the baseball team was good,
Mm-hmm.
and the very last one was the Oakland Coliseum,
Mm-hmm.
and and there was also AstroTurf back then. Did you?
Mm.
AstroTurf was probably phased out, what, 15,
Yeah,
20
no,
years ago?
I don't think I was in that one. I'm not that old.
So, yeah, if you watch in the 90s, that they're playing on essentially concrete between the infield
Mm-hmm.
dirt and that, and I can't even imagine from a player's perspective, this is something a lot of people are talking about now because of all the injuries around the NFL. 49ers have a lot. 49ers are obviously practicing on natural grass now, but what's do you feel any difference to your safety practicing on natural grass versus the new
Oh,
field turf that they have?
yeah, natural grass is so much better. That's my favorite. Just it feels way better on your knees. Like turf hurts your knees after a while, and hitting it it's like so much softer than anything else.
Mhm. Yeah, and there's so many stadiums still that haven't gone to natural grass. I think one of the notorious ones is where you played before the 49ers,
Yeah,
right?
MetLife.
MetLife, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2020, the year with no fans in the stands, it's where Bosa tore his ACL, Solomon
So
Thomas,
many
like
people get
49ers
hurt
have
there, dude. I know they've recently my year there, which would I guess would be 22. Like they changed up their turf a little bit. I remember like they had a bunch of guys like outside in the parking lot. They had two different like types that we can choose from. So they made a little bit of strides, but then at the Sterling still what did he do towards ACL Shep. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, I don't know, that feels kind of cursed.
Yeah, they were calling it Met Death Stadium after 2020. It wasn't good. Going back there this year, yeah, there's a trip to New York, I think in late October. So that will be the first time the 49ers head back to, I guess, New Jersey, technically. Were you born in New
New
York
York,
City or near there?
Long Island.
Okay. And then you moved down to Florida where you played your high school ball, obviously went to
Yeah.
the
I
U.
moved down to Florida when I was 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Miami football there, that had to just be ingrained in the culture. Was that a dream for you at a young age to stay local and play for Miami?
Oh yeah, like that was the only reason I started playing football. I just wanted to go to Miami and be a Hurricane. Um, and then once I went there, then it just like the rest of this stuff just snowballed. But my dream was to be a Hurricane.
Now, fast forward to right after the season, whenever you did retire, what was your thought process at the time? Were you, obviously you're thinking about coming back now, but at the time, why did you retire? Did you think that a return wasn't possible? What's changed in between
I think
that?
I was just so emotionally drained with dealing with the season, and there was a lot of change in my life since then. Me and my family like picked up and moved to Knoxville. Um, so that was a big reason where I wanted to retire so I can be with my family full time to deal with that transition. I always wanted to get to 10 years in the league. So when I got to 10 years, it was like, okay, I accomplished that. And I think just in that emotional state, I was like, there's a trade off with extending your career and, the potential of what your life looks like down the line. I used to be in Oakland and watch Jim Otto roll around in a wheelchair with one leg. I was just emotionally like, I don't want to be that guy. And probably about when everyone started going to OTAs, it was like, damn, like if I want, like this is, if I wanted to do it, I got to do it now because like time's running out. Um, Not everyone's Trent, who's what 37, 38, whatever he
Yeah,
is, that can play.
37.
Yeah. So there was a thought where I would stay retired for a full year and try to get everything 100%. I was looking into all these different kind of surgeries, like out of the countries and stuff. Um, but during that time of making decisions, I was training and doing everything that I do when I was playing. Um, so I keep the routine, and my body started feeling better and better. And me and my family were finally moved into our place, and everything's calming down. The kids are at school. Um, Talked with my wife, and I was like, usually during the seasons, the whole family comes. So my daughter's 8, my son's 5, and my youngest is like 1.5. So it doesn't really matter for her, but for my kids, my young kids that are just started a new school, I didn't. It's hard to pick them up and take them. So after talking with my wife, she was like, everyone's cool with if you wanted to going back, and we'd stay here and come visit. And once I got the go ahead from that, and couple that with feeling really good right now, and then watching all my friends out there having fun,
Mhm.
uh, it you know the decision's gonna get changed.
It sounds like stepping away there for those couple months gave you that mental reset, like kind of just cleansed everything, and that hunger is back.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. Because like
yeah,
from February, not. I mean, so when I got, it was really like when they put me on IR for the rest of the year. So like December, I think it was like 20 or 15th or something. I don't even know. Maybe November, late November. I just completely. Because I went back to Florida. I was retired from November until until March when I started feeling like, oh, maybe I might. Oh, but then I just started training, and then yeah. So we'll see what happens.
Well, the hunger and the drive is still there, I can tell. And you went through the process over the course of this off season, and I think all the thoughts in your head are legitimate because football. I think a lot of fans these days, especially with just fantasy sports and stuff, they don't understand the physical impact that this
Mhm.
has on people that are actually playing the game. Right there's such a players are viewed as like commodities from the outside. I think sometimes like, oh, he scored this many points for my fantasy team, or video games too. I could just press a button and this guy runs
Yeah.
that direction. But when you're actually out there, the way that I try to describe it, after talking to so many guys, is a lot of these collisions, they're like little car accidents
Hmm.
out on the field, right? Can you, I guess, just kind of help people understand what kind of toll playing on the line does take on a game by game basis with those 300 pounders making that kind of contact?
I mean, just go run into a wall and run for 4 or 5 seconds into the wall. Take 20 seconds off and then do that 70 times and
But the
see how you
wall's also
feel.
running into you, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So you got double the
Hmm.
wow. I'm not going to try that, by the way,
No, do
but
it. Go.
we'll
I
take
just
your
looked
word
at the
for it.
wall. And,
You're the last season that you played for the 49ers. Who was the toughest matchup coming in from the interior line?
um, I always like to give this guy credit because I think he's one of the best interior D linemen in the league. And he doesn't get talked about enough, but John Allen from the Commanders is such a load, and he has the best hump move in the game. And going against him every year or every game, you're just like, you're going to get hump moved, and you're going to try to do everything against it, but he's going to get you eventually. And
Mhm.
he does a great job for them and in the run game as well. He's a really good player. But besides him, it would be Chris Jones, obviously, who is the best three technique in the league.
Yeah, both of those guys have been around for a while, so I'm sure just on top of the strength, there's a certain savviness there, right? That
Hmm.
you're playing that chess match, down in, down out.
Yeah, and me and Chris played each other a lot, so we know each other's weaknesses, and obviously I have more than him because he's such a good player.
I have to ask you, but you probably dealt with this during training camp, blocking the 49ers defensive line, and I'm sure that it happens around the whole league. But Chris Kacerek is the 49ers D line coach, is really known for shuffling up front. And they like to draft guys, the 49ers do, that are edge rushers that could also rush against the inside because they feel that with that athleticism on those third and longs or passing situations, they can take the edge rushers and they could give guards a really hard time.
Hmm.
How often did you deal with that in camp with the 49ers? And ho what kind of challenges does it present for you as a guard to face some of these longer, rangier, lighter guys when they do
Yeah.
line up on the inside?
Yeah, I mean, Kasarik he does a great job with the D line. I usually am not very fond of D line coaches. Just dealing with them, they're always loud and just, you know, they like to say they won a rep when they didn't. Um, because Sarek has this, he always has a mouthful of dip, and like I've never seen a dude pop their shoulder out coaching in a walkthrough. Like this was I think it was last training camp, and he's just, he's always just like very demonstrative with his arm movements and everything. And you just hear him go, and you turn around and his shoulders like all messed up.
It was out of its socket.
I'm pretty sure, yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, he does a great job with them, and it's hard when guys are firing out the ball the way he teaches and they have long arms. If you don't get your hands on them first, it's a long day. Um, And I'm excited to see what they do this year, the defense, especially with Salah back and all the pieces they added.
Yeah, they went really young. I think like over 40% of their snaps have been replaced, and they made it a point. You mentioned the long arms. They made it a point to Michael Williams, the first or the edge rusher who they want to rush on the inside a lot, has
Hmm.
long arms. But then they got a defensive tackle in the second round, Alfred Collins out of Texas, whose wingspan is over 7 feet. So even longer arms for the
Hmm.
defensive tackle. I know you've got two types of three techniques, right? You've got some guys are a little bit shorter, obviously, probably a little wider, but then you've got this guy, Alfred Collins, who it says 6'6", but I feel he's taller. But anyway, 7 foot wingspan. There was some DeForest Buckner comparisons that they made as far just as the frame goes. Well, what is it like blocking? I mean, you've already hinted a little bit at it. It's really hard to get your arms on them, but
Hmm.
guys that are that tall, how do you try to beat them? If you don't have that arm length advantage.
Yeah, that's what makes Chris Jones so special. Is he's a huge dude and with super long arms, and like he coupled that with Chris, where he has this knack of being able to grab your wrist, and if that happens, it's you're basically at his mercy. Um, so with guys like that, like you really, hopefully, speaking as a lineman, hopefully they like to hand fight a little bit. So you hit them with a little flash or something to get them to try to do a move, so you can get your hands on them. You got to mix in like a jump set or a short set. Like you got to just keep them guessing. Try to make them play off of you rather the other way.
So if Chris Jones successfully grabs your hands, he basically disables your hands, and then he could run any
Yeah,
sort of quickness by you.
and he's so like for a big guy, like he's so slippery. Um, and like he's not overly fast, but he's fast enough to get around the edge on you. And sometimes you hit him and you just slide off.
How much chop did you get to talk with Nick Bosa? I know that he's opposite sides of the ball and he's rushing off the edge and you were guard, but the reason I ask is because talking to him, talking to his D line coach at Ohio State, Larry Johnson, it seemed that they just taught him a bunch of karate moves, and like he's probably one of the most, if not the most, advanced defensive lineman in the game when it comes to the hand usage. So how much were you able to glean from him as an O lineman, as far as like what moves he does as a D lineman to enhance your arsenal?
To be honest, not much. We like we're good friends, but we didn't really talk ball. There was only a handful of times where I did like he did like line up over me or came in on a game. Um, as a big guy, as a guard, I'm fine with bringing a smaller dude inside. Um, but there was Nick beat me a couple times because he's so dang slippery. But as like as long as you're able to get your hands on a guy who is normally an outside rusher, the inside world it's very different. Um, but it's either you get your hands on them and you're good and the rep's over, or they beat you like Melvin Ingram beat me for my first sack with a spin move and freaking. Uh, so it's either one of the two.
Is there not always enough room for spins and stuff like that on the
Yeah.
inside though,
Well,
right?
I
That's
jumped him like I wanted to kill him. I had to learn. That was my rookie year. I had to learn when to be aggressive and when not.
because if it's, you went after him and that
Uh,
created space and he was
yeah,
able to, so you
hit
kind of
me
just
with
have
the
to.
meanest spin move, and that's his move, and that's the one you like. Like doing film study, you're like, all right, beware. He's gonna do, like he's the spin guy. But as a rookie, you're just like you see red. It was a
When you
Christmas Eve game.
and at
Yeah,
that time, I'm sure you're coming, like you said, as a rookie in college, you take an aggressive approach like that, and you probably are good enough to and athletic enough compared to the rest of the guys to recover. But
100%.
I'm sure that there was some moments there like that one where it trial by fire, right? You try something and NFL doesn't work quite as well.
Yeah, he's never got another sack on me, but since then, We didn't play much. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be jumping them.
I'm trying to remember. 2023 was such a magical run. I just
Yeah.
still remember the first few weeks. This was before you started, but you were still in that locker room, and then all of a sudden you came in and gave that offensive line a boost down the stretch. But after every game, especially after the wins, I'd remember going into the locker room, and one of the things that really stood out to me was that Nick Bosa's locker is on the opposite side of the room from Trent's. Trent's was kind of near yours, and Bosa would always pull up a chair and be sitting by Trent's locker after every game. And I'm like, this was one of the coolest things ever. Here, two guys, they're probably going to be in the Hall of Fame. Trent for sure. Nick probably still has to add a couple more years on that resume, but he's on the right track. And they would just be talking shop after the game, and sometimes still in their pads. And
Yeah.
then guys would come by, and like Christian would pop his head in. Were you ever? Did you ever pop your head into those post game meetings between Trent and Nick?
Oh yeah, I'm right there. I heard everything. Nick is just always, he loves learning new things. He's always reading a new book, or you know, we had plenty of talks about some weird things that he's learning. um, and I think he just loves the being Trent's teammate and being able to pick Trent's mind, because Nick's always trying to get better as well. So whatever he can pick from Trent's head, he's going to do it.
And like it's Nick. You see on social media, he's relatively quiet. I think John Lynch is the best way of describing his. He has an economy of words. So whenever he speaks, it means every word means so much, right?
Mhm.
And then he posts like these books and what you're talking about. And they're like, this is like some advanced stuff that he's reading. And it's like once a month he'll post 5 books. I'm like, how do you manage to look the way you do? Because you're obviously spending a ton of time in the gym and also read like 5 books a month, right? Like
Yeah,
he seems like such an interesting guy from that
yes, dude has
perspective.
so many books. Like I stopped. We hung out a little bit during this break. Um, I went over his house, and this dude has so many dang books, and there's books everywhere. Like on every table, there's just like a random book. And I mean, it, the thing I miss the most really is like the bus rides to like games, or to like the airport, or to the hotel. Like we had a great group of guys that were, there was me, Bosa, George, CMC, Juice, Brendel, McKivitz, Zakel. So all of us were all sitting together, and those rides were, it was so fun. It was some good times.
This is from the hotel to the game before the
Or
game.
to the from the plane to the hotel when we go to like away games. So you get like these 20-30 minute little sections of just all the guys just talking shit and like messing around. It's a great time.
Because you're still on your way to the game. It's still several hours before, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh my God, we're about to kick off. There's still
Oh no! Before the game, everyone has their headsets, so no one's talking to each other. But
okay.
it's more like when you get to the when you land in the city and driving to the hotel, or we're going from the bus to the plane to go to the city wherever we're playing.
I've been on a team bus plane before, back when my college days, I covered Stanford football. I always thought it was really cool. You get the police escort, you're
Hmm.
kind of rolling through all the lights. Football is always such a production, right? And just the ride from the airport or from the hotel to the stadium, when you've got the police escort, sometimes they even give you a helicopter. Does that get
Hmm.
you fired up as a player? Because it just feels like there's a production happening. It always, I see a team rolling in, I'm like, okay, something's about to go down today. Well, what is it like from the
Yeah,
perspective of being somebody playing in that game?
yeah, it's dope when like you find like you see the stadium in the distance,
Hmm.
and you start getting closer, and then when you get to the stadium, it's just like a sea of people. I love the away games, so it's like a sea of people of like a different color, and like night games are the best. You see the lights of the stadium, and you're instantly fired up, and it's like you gotta 3 hours, 2.5 hours before game time, and it's just the longest 2 hours.
If you could tell, I'm trying to build your hunger for this right now. I don't think I need to. I think it's already there. But yeah, I mean, I would feel that that's probably the type of feeling and the stuff that you miss the most, right?
Hmm.
The anticipation is almost, because I enjoy myself like the last couple hours before a huge game because I work really hard during the week. I'm, talking about it, interviewing guys, trying to learn about the game. We talked a lot back in the locker room, and I'd say guys like Trent and Nick have just such wealths of knowledge. So then you work so hard over the course of the week, and then even for me as somebody covering the team, I felt that the last couple hours before the game, when the work was done, to just be able to soak up the anticipation of what was going to come. That's what I'm looking forward to on September 7th, right at
Hmm.
Seattle. There's just something about it that football, like basketball, they play what 81 times a year.
Yeah,
It's not
82.
as special, right? Football only plays 17 times a year. I have to ask you, I know you've been asked about this a few times because you're one of the few players who had the chance to play with both Josh Allen and Brock Purdy. And two quarterbacks paid this offseason, both signed. But Josh is actually from near my hometown. Grew up on a farm in
Hmm.
rural California. And he grew up a Niners fan, so a lot of Niners fans, I think, are very interested in his career. Uh, what was it like seeing the evolution of Josh Allen? Because I know when he first came into the league, he wasn't who he is now,
Yeah,
and I think you had a really really good front row seat to that.
yeah. I was with him his second, third, and fourth year. He is just a generational talent. You can't teach his size and his arm strength and his competitiveness. And my first year with him, I think there's, he never wanted to give up on a play. And I think you've seen throughout his career, he slides more. He he'll throw the ball away. He's not always trying to hurdle somebody. He's been able to play smarter. He's just it was a great honor to be able to play with him and be his teammate. And a great guy. He's a big child. It's like he's he's so silly all the time, and then even in the huddle, like we're jacking around. But as soon as we break that huddle, it's laser focus, and he's trying to take someone's head off and make a big play, or just Buffalo's a special player, so it's awesome to be able to play with him there, where his number will go up in the rafters one day.
Well, and Buffalo, I know you some fond times in your career, fond memories of those times in your career. I noticed I was sitting in the press box during that blizzard before the game, and I was just looking to see who was out on the field. I know last year was so difficult for you personally, just because you were trying to come back, and obviously the knee didn't cooperate. But to me, it seemed that it was really cool that you got to go back to Buffalo and you were catching up with a lot of guys in the snow
Hmm.
before that game on the field. And you could correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like a nice little respite from what was a really tough year, not just for you, but for the whole 49ers team. You got to go back to a place where you enjoyed some good years.
Yeah, and that time I was away from the team already.
Mm.
So I was in Florida. I flew up a couple days. I think I got there Friday, or yeah, early Friday, and I was able to go hit up some of my old spots, and I bought a whole bunch of wings and brought it to the guys.
You gave me a rec. You gave me, what did you
The
recommend?
barbell
I
was
went
it, was it
barbell.
barbell?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, great
Uh,
work.
some Bills fans, like I did a little video in front of there, and some Bills fans walked up to me and they asked me like, How did you know about this place?" And I told them Jon Feliciano told me to go here, and they went nuts. Like they loved you there.
Yeah, it
Uh,
was. It was. Buffalo's a great place. I mean, when I was there for the game, like so many people came up to me and was just like, happy. It's good to see you. Like, thank you for all you did. Blah blah blah. And like, you know, as a lineman, I don't get recognized very often. but like
Hmm.
in Buffalo, it's crazy.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
And yeah, I got that vibe from the fan base there. I got this, it was a blowout. Obviously, that was kind of a
I
low
know.
point.
I yelled at Josh after the game. I was like, bro, the audacity for Amari to pitch you that ball and you do what you did. Like, I thought we were better than that, dude.
What do you say?
And he just laughed. He's like, "What do you want me to do?"
Yeah, he's
I was like,
but
"Not
I
that."
just that was obviously an iconic play and an MVP season for him. I remember after every Bills touchdown, the place was blizzarded in, so there was so much snow. I just saw
Yeah,
like fans just throwing snow up, and it was just like this pure joy. And it's like anybody else in any other place of the country would probably be miserable just due to the weather. But in Buffalo, they just owned it and they were just happy. And I just thought that was really cool. So
yeah. I
it
mean,
was,
that was the best case scenario. I mean, playing in the snow, like you think of Buffalo, you think snowstorm game, and that's what we got. Unfortunately, we didn't come away with the win, but I would have, and I was so jealous watching that game on the sideline.
yeah, just did you play how many snowstorm games?
Not
It,
many.
it,
That was not like that. I played in like some a little bit of snow on the ground, but like nothing like they got to do.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, even walking down from the press box to the tunnel, you have to go like outside, and everybody's like you're basically skiing without skis down, like you're sliding down.
Yeah,
It was a wild time. So anyway, just wrap this up. You talk about Josh in the huddle, and he had that right balance of I guess keeping guys at ease, but then hey, it's business. Let's break the huddle. Let's go. This was the year before you got to the Niners, 2022. But when Brock took over, he it was obviously something that wasn't expected. Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt, and Brock Purdy had to come in. And uh, Trent Williams tells the story, and he always cracks up when he says it. But he said that Brock came in, and George was doing his thing, Kittle just goofing around, laughing, and Brock, I suppose this is according to Trent, said, "George, shut up." And all of a sudden everyone snapped to attention, and that's when Brock Purdy earned respect of the huddle. Like this number 262, Mr. Irrelevant, third string quarterback steps in there, tells George Kittle, future Hall of Famer, that, and the rest was history.
yeah,
I know you weren't there at that moment, but his command of the huddle, I'm sure there's something special about it, given the fact that guys like Trent Williams have talked about it in that way.
yeah. And I mean, especially being in Kyle's offense and having to read up all those words that he has to say, like you need to you need to be more. You can't be messing around. Like you need to hear everything that Brock's going to say. And Brock's a perfectionist. He's going to make sure like you know what he said.
So, are there a difference in the huddle communication between what you saw in Shanahan system versus Buffalo? Like, is there less room for joking around because he does have so much to communicate in San Francisco?
Yeah, I mean, in my time in Buffalo, a lot of our stuff was one word things, or maybe a couple words. We had a lot of code words for things, um, so there's a lot more time in the huddle. With Kyle's offense, it's very mouthy. There's a lot of things, but in this type of offense, you need that.
Mhm.
If you see that one clip with Stafford, because Maffei runs, they run similar stuff, or you know, it's like Stafford's like he's still talking, he's still going, and it's like if you can hear it, he's reading some of the play, like he repeated the play, and it's just like it's those kind of things. Like it's a lot.
So QB's waiting for the head coach or the play caller to finish, which I think the headset cuts out at 15 seconds, but ideally
Yeah.
you want to finish way before then, right? So you're not
Mhm.
in a rush to get to the line.
Especially if you have a whole bunch of motions on that play, like you want to get to the line of scrimmage as fast as possible.
Now, in Kyle's system, they put a lot on the center. I know you played a few snaps, but you were mainly a guard. I think it might have
Yeah.
been at the end of the games at center. So Brendel's handling that for the 49ers. What exactly, is the center? He doesn't have a headset, but he
Mhm.
gets the play call, and then is he communicating with the linemen at the
Everybody, really.
and how's
He's
he doing that? Is he yelling stuff out, or is it nonverbal from the center?
no, yeah, he's yelling. He has a lot. Man, Jake's job is so hard, and
Mhm.
I'm so happy I was able to play guard in this system and not center. Like it's mentally torture. There's so much that he has to know and remember, and Jake has been in this system for a long time, so it's very like secondhand for him. Um, but my especially my first year, there were so many times where I'm like, Jake, you gotta teach me like how are we getting this point so early? Like what are we looking at here? And especially coming from a different system with different verbiages, like it was so hard. It was hard to learn the system, and that center job is real tough.
So, as a lineman, when the center is barking at the line, he's crouched down. He's going to snap the ball. The quarterback is also often, always saying something. So, do you just have to kind of in this system? Do you filter out what Brock is saying, and you're paying attention to Jake because the center is in charge of
Well,
or
Jake's
how does it
usually
work?
making the call as we're getting to the line, so right before Brock says anything, um, and that's great work by Jake. I mean, he's able to make a call real early before the cadence even happens.
Okay, so they have to because they don't want to cross paths, cross wires. There, you have
Yeah, but
to
it does happen all the time, especially if like the play clock's getting down, or if it's a play that we need to snap it fast, or like if Brock sees like a corner not on a receiver or something, or someone like getting lined up. So there's times where you gotta you know listen to both, but you try not to.
with crowd noise too, and
Mhm.
NFL is not an easy job, man. But you're trying to get back in. I respect it.
For
I
sure.
it's going to be well, hopefully we all get to see you out on the field. I personally, selfishly, I would love to cover you back with the 49ers this year, but we'll see how it all progresses here moving forward. But
Yeah,
John,
we'll see what happens if they let's let them have their final roster and see if they feel comfortable, and if not, they know where I am.
and that's the thing, like we call it the final roster, right? But it's actually just the first roster. These things live and breathe, and they change so much because of the unfortunate reality of injuries. So I think if you stay in shape and you have the speed dial, I guess they have the speed dial, but you've got to be ready to take the call. I think that at some point something can come. The other day you said that you're retired for what, 27 or 28 teams, but the 49ers at the top of your list.
That changes daily. It goes between 30 and lower.
So, but the 49ers are still
They're
a
always
lot
there.
farther than your
They're always one of the two.
another chance to play in Kyle's system. All right, John, thanks so much for joining. It's been a lot of fun.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.